Red 2 standing by, all for lit, and in the green, welcome to a brand new project that is going to be very, very different from typical Yu-Gi-Oh fare. Yu-Gi-Oh! The Falsebound Kingdom is a rather unusual game, if I'm going to be honest. It's a hybrid of role-playing game and real-time strategy. We're going to see how everything plans out because the first episode is pretty lengthy exposition as you get the tutorial on how to play the game. But there's a lot to do, many monsters to encounter, from both the international version, hereafter referred to as the TCG, and the Japanese version, hereafter referred to as the OCG. There are two versions, it's kinda weird. I'll be detailing a bit of information about the monsters we meet too. Those will pop up during travel time because, to be honest, things get a little bit boring during travel time. There's a lot of wandering around the maps, travelling to different locations and battling various enemies along the way. I'll generally comment on the various battles here and there, but we're going to get ready and take on our stories. There's actually quite a lot of content, quite a lot of monsters to get, and you'll need to replay the game to get some monsters. So, we have story or challenge mode. Challenge mode, you'll need to build up your teams and take on your enemies. I'll get that done later on. Let's start out with the story mode. We have two different characters we can choose from, Yugi and Kaiba. Let's start off with Yugi's story. With some interesting words, we kick off our adventure. And of course I'm not going to try and mimic all the voices as well as I could. There probably will be a few references to Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series, but not a huge amount. Probably try and stay true to the spirit of the anime. Well, this must be the lab mentioned in that letter you got. SIC Domino Labs. Yeah, this looks like the place. It's pretty far from the city. There's nothing else here. Doesn't the building look futuristic? SIC is a famous overseas game company, isn't it? It's a new game company that just started here in Japan, but it's already becoming a major player. Although it's relatively new, it's gotten pretty big by releasing a bunch of innovative games. They've been using 3D images and virtual reality research to create some amazingly lifelike environments. Sounds a lot like what Kaiba's company does. According to this invitation, they're doing exactly the same kind of work as Kaiba Corporation. SIC has incorporated cutting-edge technologies to develop next-generation virtual reality technology. SIC hopes to work in the field of games to perfect this technology using the wildly popular duel monsters. SIC plans to further develop the technology through gameplay. Their technological goals may be scientific, but if they're using duel monsters, I want to get a look at it. Because, as we all know, duel monsters is pretty much the only way of life. Kind of like how, in the Alola games, it's kind of implied that if you suck as a Pokemon trainer, well, too bad, you don't really get to participate in society and you're basically on the fringes. You're an outcast. Presumably, if you can't play duel monsters well in this society, you're out on your ear. Me too. This is so exciting, but why did they send invitations to us? I think they send invitations to everyone that ranked well at the Duelist Kingdom and Battle City tournaments. In order to test the new Duel Simulator Kingdom, SIC is sponsoring a test trial. And respectfully ask for your assistance in helping us make Kingdom the best game it can be. It also says to bring friends if you want. Naturally, I thought of you guys right away. Just so we're all clear, I'm here because I did so well in the tournaments. Oh yeah? Then where's your invitation? They must have sent it to the wrong address. Yeah, sure. At least we know that Yugi is here as a finalist. That's it. Come on, Tristan. I'll take you right here and now. Stop it, both of you. This is no time to fight. Look, there's someone from the lab waiting for us. Let's get going.
You must be Yugi Moto. We've been waiting for you.
Uh-huh. That's me. And these are my friends.
Wonderful. Let's all go inside, shall we?
Hey, Yugi.
Didn't we see this guy at Kyber Corporation once?
I think so, but all of the people of Kyber Corporation give off the same kind of weird vibe.
You're correct. I did work for Kyber Corporation. Jeez, he heard us. We're almost at the main lab.
What in the world is...
This is SIC's latest simulator, codenamed Kingdom. This is just a prototype. We're only using the dual disc for packaging reasons. It's all original SIC hardware on the inside.
Is this what you used to recreate the world of Duel Monsters?
Yes, our tests of Kingdom have been very successful so far. We've constructed an entire fantasy world based on Duel Monsters. We'd like you to help us test the simulator by simply playing the game as you normally would. The simulator supports multiple players, so you will all be able to play at the same time. In multiplayer mode, everyone joins the game as a different game character.
It sounds like a network game or something.
These new games are so awesome. Kingdom is a fantasy world. The card monsters there are alive. You will all join the resistance and fight against the Empire, which is suppressing the general population. You know, the usual stuff empires do. You never get a heroic empire, and we're not going to start. Of course, you'll all participate in the game as different characters, because all of you playing as the one character would probably be really, really weird and really, really frustrating. The game is currently set for a few hours, and we'll be recording your play data from here.
Cool! Well, what are we waiting for? Let's play! Yeah! This is so exciting. I wonder what it'll be like.
Yugi, does this seem on the level to you?
Huh? What do you mean?
This whole simulator seems suspicious.
You're probably just overreacting. Oh, it's about to start! After 300 years of ruling the Rondavel continent, the Sygh-Varths Empire is faced with a crisis. Since the 12th Emperor Heishin ascended to the throne, corruption and brutality have spread throughout the Empire. As you do, kind of standard procedure for any empire really. There is never going to be a benevolent empire. If there are, I'll be impressed. There probably are some I don't know about, but anyway, usual, really dodgy empire. The people suffer oppression, but their complaints have fallen on deaf ears. As they do. None so deaf as those who will not hear, I guess. Heishin and a select group of his underlings have been living in the lap of luxury. Their lavish lifestyle is supported by heavy taxation, which has pushed most of the populace to the brink. As any good politician knows, a tax is the best form of defense. People on the fringes of the Empire have responded with rebellion and revolt. And again, as the cheesy old joke goes, "Sire, the peasants are revolting! I know, I can smell them from here." This uprising has extended as far as the northern part of the Empire on Vaxi Island. What's the matter?
I don't know, but I've got a really bad feeling about this.
And it's overloading. Too many players at once. What's happening? Ah! Lock-in mode activated, whatever that means.
Yugi, what happened? Lord Yugi! Lord Yugi, wake up, please! Lord Yugi! Oh, my head. Oh, that's the last time I drink Tristan's homebrew. What does he put in that stuff? You seem to be coming out of it. Where am I? Huh? You're in the port city of Makad on the western edge of Vaxi Island. You lost consciousness suddenly. You just passed out right in the middle of our meeting. Don't you remember? Remember what? You appear to be suffering from memory loss. Convenient. Let me explain everything as quickly as I can. Now I'll go back and do it again. Your name is Yugi. You're the leader of the resistance here in Makad. We were planning our next attack when you passed out. We've tricked the Imperial forces into splitting up, and Etos, the ruler of these lands, is left with few guards. It was the perfect chance for us to break the Emperor's repressive hold, and we're just about ready to attack. Is any of this coming back to you? Anything at all? No, none of it. I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. But it sounds like I'm expected to take command of the Resistance. That is correct, Lord Yugi. You are, after all, Supreme Commander of the Resistance. Without you, we don't even have enough marshals. You must lead on the front lines. Marshal? Oh dear, have you forgotten everything? Marshals are a type of general and are central to a battle. Marshals can control monsters and engage in battle by pitting their monsters against those of the enemy. Each monster has incredible power, power equal to that of several thousand human soldiers, even the really crappy normal monsters from the early days of the game. This is why the marshals hold the key to victory in any battle. However, the number of men with this power over monsters is small. Including you, the Resistance has but 5. 3, sir. 3. So you're telling me that I have this special martial ability? You have it in spades, sir. Although I'm afraid that your powers might be weaker in your current state, you might only have it in clubs or diamonds. You will just have to get it back slowly in battle. In the beginning, I will assist your recovery, Lord Yugi. Remember that Imperial units usually have a marshal assigned to them as well. You will need to get your battle instinct back if you're going to defeat the Imperial marshals. For the time being, we need to finish planning our strategy and organize our units. Come this way! Well, this is a fine mess we're in.
I know, it doesn't feel like we have any control over the game. This is basically Sword Art Online before Sword Art Online was a thing. What is it with this stupid game design? Why can't you just have it crash? I mean, why do they decide to just lock people in there? Suppose we'll find out.
I think it's safe to assume that we're trapped in this fantasy game world. They must have been planning on using us as their lab rats from the beginning.
I wonder if the rest of our friends are here too.
It's likely. They're probably all just as confused by whatever character roles they've been thrown into as well.
We've got to find a way out of here.
I don't know how much of what the SIC techies told us is true, but they did say that this is a game.
Uh-huh.
Then it's got to have an ending, right? Maybe if we play the game and clear all the levels,
it'll lead to a way out. That makes sense. With help from the rest of our friends, we're sure to find a way home.
That seems to be our best bet for now.
Fortunately, we have the King of Games on our side.
Please look carefully at the map of Rondaval.
There's our continent. You can actually see some of the regions on the game board. We'll find out about those as we go. Just bear with me a tick.
This is Makad, where we are right now. And this is the target of our next battle. We're going to liberate the rest of Vaxi Island.
Notice how the two small bits are not glowing. They don't get to be rescued. Sucks to be them.
In order to do that, we've got to take control of Sugut, the provincial capital to the east.
Keep in mind there's not really a pronunciation guide for a lot of these, so I'm just making it up as I go.
I see. Sugut is a large castle in the northern section. It's well defended and houses a large fighting force. We won't stand a chance if we attack head-on. First, we've got to get them to divide up their force.
We should be able to lure some units away from the capital by liberating nearby lands. Places like Etos, Makad.
We've already managed to thin out the defenses at Makad. Let's attack in force and take our first victory. Okay, what should I do? You will direct your marshals on the field of battle and attack the enemy main base, Lord Yugi. I'm certainly not as strong as you, but I will also command a team of monsters and assist you. Just remember that none of your other marshals are nearly as powerful as you are. We depend heavily on you. Your success on the battlefield is the key to the success of the Resistance. There are many other details to plan. Let's start with organizing our units for the difficult battle ahead. What do you mean by organizing? As you may remember, but you probably don't because you have convenient memory loss, I mentioned a little while ago that the enemy army has its own marshals. Only a marshal commanding his own monsters stands any chance against an enemy marshal. No matter how weak a marshal may be, he can command up to 3 monsters, or she, or however they identify. We are honestly equal opportunity in the Resistance, and everyone deserves to stand up and fight for their rights. We're fighting an enormous empire. The number and power of its monster units are just as frighteningly enormous. We must organize our own monsters into units so that we can combat the enemy. Luckily for us, we have several monsters that are willing to fight for our cause. The first thing you need to do is organize the monsters into groups and then assign them to your marshals. Each group of monsters is called a team. Please try to remember that, Lord Yugi. Let's start assembling our teams, shall we? After the teams are assembled, it's time to send them to battle. When you're ready, please let me know. Also, pay special attention to the center monster on each team. This monster is the team leader, and the team's movement speed is determined by the speed of its leader.
I understand. I'll start by assembling my teams.
Alright, so let's take a look at our status screen. Our select marshal screen, the number of gold at the top of the screen indicates how much gold it takes to bring all our monsters onto the battlefield, because they do actually have a cost. Let's take a look at Yugi's status screen. I believe the battle points, life points, and action points help dictate exactly how much those stats will be influenced by compatibility or maybe level ups. These will increase as your marshal levels up. I'll have to take a look and have a look at things in the manual because I'm a bit rusty. I'll get those ready for the next episode, but we have battle points, life points, and action points. Battle points are attack and defense, our basic monster stats really. Life points, how much HP a monster has. Action points, how many times they can act in a turn. So, we can also see that Yugi has an ability, Master of the Egyptian Gods. When we acquire certain items, Yugi can use those to summon one of the Egyptian gods. This does happen because, well, they're on the box art and the title screen really, so they do appear, but much later on in the game. So, that's pretty much the main focus of the marshal screen, but you'll also notice a couple of things. The icon near Yugi's name at the top has a foot on it. This is his movement type. You will also note the little circle there, the compatibility orb that is next to the action points. As you battle with certain monsters on your team, the compatibility orb and those of the monsters will actually change. The closer the compatibility, the better their stats become. So, over time, you'll actually get greater affinity with your monsters and the ability to fight a lot better with them. Let's take a look at Yugi's monsters by selecting the info button. We can take a look at Celtic Guardian. We can see that its movement type, up by its name, is basically ground movement. That's what the foot means. These are vulnerable to anti-ground cannons. So, 800 HP. Attack and defense are always, with certain exceptions, the monster's starting attack and defense as written on the card. The number of stars is their action points. The gold is how much gold they cost to bring into battle. As monsters level up, they'll cost more gold to bring into battle. The icon next to the compatibility orb is what type of monster it is. They're somewhat condensed in this game. Celtic Guardian is a warrior type. Over here is Feral Imp, which is a flying monster. That's what that wing means. They are vulnerable to anti-air cannons. You can see its slightly better stats mean that it costs slightly more to bring it into battle, but it only has 2 action points. We can see that according to its icon, it is a fiend type. Over here is Karibo, which doesn't cost very much and isn't very strong. So, we can see the item screen is also the default screen. We don't have any items. But monsters can have an ability. Knight Adept. Fiend-type monsters, like Feral Imp, tend to have Knight Adept. What this means is their attack, speed, defense, and action points will all increase at night. So this is going to form the basis of one of my strategies for this chapter. Then we can see their battle arts, that's how they attack. Now, Kuriboh may have a special move. Its standard attack is Needle Sprinkler. Multiple Spine Shoot is its special ability. If you use the Z button to trigger a special move, Multiple Spine Shoot allows it to multiply and attack all enemies. However, in the case of Kuriboh, you must have a certain item. It must have the multiply item, otherwise it will not be able to use this move. Celtic Guardian's attack is Fairy Blade Slash, and Shadow Claw is Feral Imps. It's this was made before Diamond and Pearl, so yeah. Right, so we also have Shimon's team. Shimon has, as his monsters, Shadow Spectre, which as we can see is a Fiend type. It is a zombie type in the TCG and OCG. So, as you can see, quite condensed. Zombie Warrior, which is, again, a zombie. And Beaver Warrior. Beaver Warrior is counted as a warrior despite the fact it is a beast warrior in the TCG. So, we can see that no one has any items. Both these monsters are Knight Adept, while Beaver Warrior is Forest Adept. Some monsters will actually gain more abilities as they level up. Some monsters will also learn special attacks as they level up. And then we can see Fista's team, who we will bring along with us. Her ability is Discount. Discount allows her to get certain things for reduced costs. We'll have to take a look at that a bit later on. So she has Penguin Soldier, which, though it is an Aqua in the TCG, is counted as a beast monster. We have Horn Imp, which is Knight Adept. And we have Kanekabuto, which is Water Adept. So, when it comes to this game, I am actually going to show you pretty much how everything works in terms of the actual gameplay, but during travel I will be providing those monster bios. I'll fit them in as best I can. So, we've got our team set up. We see our overworld map, we can check our configurations, but we'll want to start the battle. I'll give you a quick rundown of how everything goes, but we'll also add in sort of little travelogues and get all those, pretty much all those little displays and things done. Let's get going. Time Wizard is our loading screen.
The Resistance is about to engage in its first battle. Let us take the victory this day. As you can see, there are 4 villages, including the enemy main base at Makad and the base at Jakud. Thanks to our earlier planning, the main enemy force is much smaller than it once was and is not massed nearby. The ruler Etos has no idea that we're ready to attack. Let's take this chance to secure our position in the area. First, send someone to free the village of Ruthum. It's not very far from Jakud. The village is filled with supporters of the Resistance. It will be a good foothold from where we can attack. As we free the nearby villages from repressive Imperial rule, they will offer us items and money. We need both these things to help build up our force, so we should try to free as many places as possible. Currently, all of our teams are holding position in Jakud. Let's select teams to send into battle from Jakud and send them to the village of Ruthum. To send a team into battle, position the cursor over the town the team is in and press the A button. Then select a command for the team to carry out. Finally, move the cursor to the location you want the team to go to and press the A button. This dispatches the team. Okay, it's time to go to battle.
So, there are our win and loss conditions. So the enemy will not move from this base until we move to Ruthum. We can see that there are 2 marshals, all with vaguely Egyptian-ish designs. Now, we can use icon mode to send out certain characters to certain places. So, I'll demonstrate how normal movement goes. It's also worth noting, if I can get it right... I can't remember quite how to do it. There we are! Enter the Konami code, up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, and you will get 537 gold. The reason why is because it's... I'm not exactly sure what the right term for it is, but it's essentially a number that basically spells out a word. In this case, the 537 can be used to spell out Konami. Anyway, we'll do that a bit to rack up our funds. But for now, we will send Yugi up here, and I'll send Fizdus shortly after him. I want Fizdus to stop about here. Celtic Guardian first appeared in Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon for international audiences, and debuted in Japan as a promo for a starter box pre-order. Its first main booster appearance was in the Japanese Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon set. And it's a great demonstration of how times change. To think this card was a super rare way back when in the very first international set. There's not a lot that's fancy about Celtic Guardian, but whether his normal self or in his retrained obnoxious form, this monster can often be seen alongside Yugi. The resilient obnoxious form will shrug off powerful attacks, but it is vulnerable to piercing damage, so you have to be careful with that. Otherwise, there's really not a lot remarkable about this monster. Still, it's remained fairly iconic, and Celtic Guardian will prove pretty handy in this game.
We successfully freed Ruthum. We now have 2 footholds in the area. We're in better shape than the enemy now. But news of our attack has probably reached the main base at Makad. I've just gotten word from spies that there is troop movement at Makad. They will be headed here shortly. We can either build up our defenses and prepare for the attack, or try to free another village. What would you like to do? It is much easier to meet an enemy from a village or castle than in the open fields.
Feral Imp first appeared in Metal Raiders for international audiences, though it was also part of Yugi's starter deck like Celtic Guardian was. In Japan, Feral Imp first appeared in Volume 5. It's been around since the really early days, back when the sets for the OCG were ordered by volumes and boosters, e.g. Volume 1 then followed by Booster 1, and they went so on up to Volume 7 and Booster 7, at which time we got our regular named sets, sort of as we know them. It's not a spectacular card by any means, and just got outclassed as the game went on. Technically it might have even been outclassed on arrival if you're being pedantic, but for the time it would have been reasonably capable. It will prove pretty handy in this game though.
It's almost time to face the enemy marshals. When 2 or more marshals meet in battle, each commands his monsters to attack the enemy. If you defeat all the enemy monsters, you win. If you are both unable to completely defeat the other's monsters and both teams have exhausted their action points, the team with the advantage wins. When a marshal's monsters are defeated, he must return to his main base. The marshal cannot return to the battlefield until his monsters recover. If the Yugi team is defeated, then the entire unit is defeated. It's vital that you protect yourself at all times.
So, let's get into the basics of battle. So, movement speed determines who's going to go first. In this case, Feral Imp, we can use the plus pad to move around the battlefield and move up or down. We can also use R to defend, L to escape, Y gives us info about the monsters. We can flip over to see our enemy's monsters. We have Larvae Moth. 500 attack, 400 defense, 2 action points. Hitotsume Giant. Decent HP, okay attack and defense. Zaragon, fairly decent HP, decent attack and defense, counted as a beast despite being an aqua monster. This is a warrior, I think it's a warrior in the game, and again beast despite being an insect. Their abilities, Forest Adept and Water Adept. So, we want to select our attack targets. We should probably focus our attacks on Zaragon. So, they will do roughly around the damage of our various monsters. Now, you can switch around monsters on teams, which I kind of forgot to do. But that's okay because I do have a pretty good plan. So as you can see, my monsters have chipped down Zaragon's HP a fair bit. The AI will usually target your strongest monster. Thankfully, their basic monsters are not that strong. Now pay attention and check if the monster does not flinch when the attack is being used. This means that the attack has missed. Now I'll have to wait until Karibo comes up, but there we are, we're slowly chipping away at Zaragon. We'll probably need a couple of blows from Celtic Guardian. Now, note that the wait command does actually move you up further in the turn order. So we can see that we don't have a special command and we don't have any items. We'll eventually get some. We do get limited healing, or slow and steady healing, when it comes to our base. So, the enemy has nearly exhausted its action points. And so have we. What I shall do is have Hitotsume Giant be attacked. We'll still earn a decent amount of experience from this battle, but it won't be enough to let us level up. And now we can finish off Zaragon. There we go. So, that icon means we have won this particular battle and gained a decent amount of experience. Our experience will increase based on how well we do. Now, I want to put Falsebound in to reap the rewards. If a monster loses a battle on the field, it will be stunned and knocked back. So there is a reason I'm conserving Yugi's team, because I've got a bit of a plan. So we'll demonstrate Falsebound's team, which is actually pretty good in terms of attack power. It's weak overall in terms of stats, but it can fare pretty well when it comes to repeat damage. Falsebound is not strictly necessary for this team, but if you want to conserve the HP of your units, she will be fairly handy. It's basically just exchanging blows. Penguin Soldier's multiple attacks will actually come in handy. So, guarding. Guarding reduces the damage you take until your next move. However, if the opponent's monster is strong enough, it can break your defenses. Compare the defense stat to the monster's attack stat. So let's say we've got Hitotsume Giant's 1000 defense against Hornimp's 1300 attack. We will do a lot more damage. Or at least we'll be able to break its guard, but we won't do as much damage. I'm going to continue pouring my attacks into Hitotsume Giant and finishing it off. We'll slowly chip away at it and hopefully win this fight I doubt we'll win this one decisively. But I will give that bit of extra experience to Fizders. We'll need our whole team at full health ready for the next battles. And you see how Penguin Soldier didn't flinch. The attack has missed. So the enemy has no more action points left. So what I'm going to do is have Penguin Soldier concentrate its attacks on Larvae Moth. Same deal with Kanekabuto. Oh, alright. I thought Horn Imp had another attack left. That was dumb. Oh well, let's hit Hitotsume Giant. Learn to pay attention. Once again, we've won the battle. I will keep Fizders on hand. You get slightly more experience from knocking out an entire team. Let's have Yugi return to the main base. You can check a team when they're moving on the battlefield. You can also increase the size of the selection circle so that you've got an easier time of it. I like to have the camera behind my monsters because it just makes it a little easier to pan in. It's not quite as time consuming, but you can set the camera however you like. With the control stick, you can zoom in and out. As we see here. So you will see the 3D models of various monsters as they move around the battlefield. This is pretty cool in all fairness. So things are starting out pretty easy now. They will gradually build up. It's pretty impressive that they actually managed to get some fairly decent looking 3D models for some admittedly basic normal monsters from the early days. And indeed some effect monsters. It's one of the reasons why I love this game so much. There's actually a lot of creativity and a lot of depth of content into it. There's quite a bit of effort. It's probably a really good symbol of the GameCube era that you get those weird experimental games that just seem to work so well. So there we are. We will now finish it off and get full experience. I'll spend a bit of time waiting so that my team can heal. Slowly but surely, teams will recover HP. However, you'll be able to do this with much greater certainty. And there we are, our monsters have leveled up and gained a little extra attack and defense. At certain points, they will gain more action points. So, they will of course increase as the compatibility orb increases. Now what's Yugi's team looking like? I'll need to make sure they heal. We'll wait with Yugi for a while. But I'll send Shimon down here, and then we'll get back to waiting. And show off a few more profiles. Kuriboh first appeared in Metal Raiders for international audiences. Its Japanese debut was in Volume 7, though it was re-released in the Japanese set titled Metal Raiders. International sets were usually made up of 2 Japanese sets which were a bit smaller, and some shared names with the international sets but were added into different ones. Anyway, Kuriboh, as we can tell, its stats are really nothing to write home about, but its ability and the myriad support cards which allow Kuriboh to do some pretty cool things have pulled our hero out of the fire many a time. Since this fluffy fiend made its debut, a number of Kuriboh support cards have appeared. Also, each protagonist tends to get their own version of Kuriboh with distinct skills relating to the mechanics of their series. Not bad for a little ball of fuzz. Beaver Warrior made its international debut in Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon, also appearing in Yugi's starter deck roughly around the same time. In Japan, it debuted in Volume 3. And I hate beavers, I'm gonna be honest. I hate beavers, and so will you if you play Donkey Kong 64. Grudges aside, Beaver Warrior is in some ways a little better than Celtic Guardian, which was a super rare in the same set. Kind of strange how all that old rarity went, but times change. Admittedly, they do rearrange rarities for the international versions, which really sucks. Anyway, Beast Warriors weren't too prominent early on, and fittingly, Beaver Warrior is a lot less memorable than Celtic Guardian. Oh well, it'll do the job in this game though. Fairly good HP, and reasonable stats to start off with. Zombie Warrior's only TCG appearance has been in OTS Tournament Pack 1, where it was a short print card, which is basically a really cheap cop-out way of making a card hard to find. It's pretty crap, if I'm going to be honest. In Japan, it debuted in Volume 2 and didn't reappear until Tournament Pack 2010 Volume 4. These are its only printings. Which is probably not surprising because as an early fusion monster, Zombie Warrior really isn't very good. You give up 3 cards to summon a monster identical to the 13th Grave, a 3-star normal monster, and even then, Battle Warrior actually has 100 more defense than it. The most notable aspect about Zombie Warrior was the fact it made the printers of the OCG realise they'd mucked up some katakana, writing what was effectively undead instead of undead to that point. Whoops. At least they corrected it. Still not a fantastic card, but serviceable in this game. Shadow Spectre's only TCG appearance is in Speed Duel Starter Decks Match of the Millennium, which was released in 2020. That's a full 21 years after its first and otherwise only other appearance. In the starter box and its release in cinemas, in the Japanese version that came with the, let's call it the Season 0 movie, the YuGiOh movie we didn't get to see. This is another hard one to find, but I do actually have a copy of its starter box version. I don't think it's going to be worth much, but I'm just happy I have it anyway. Shadow Spectre is supposed to be an animal spirit according to its translated card text, but that skull is very clearly human. You can tell by the design, and on top of that, it's got a decent beard too. In this game, it seems to replace that swirling mist surrounding it with skeletal tentacle legs, which just makes it look really odd. It's a little strange, it's not super powerful, but it will still help out. The fact that it comes with Night Adept early can be very useful. Horny Imp has never actually appeared in an international release throughout the entire TCG. Its only appearance in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh card game was in Volume 6. Talk about forgettable, and it's probably not worth a lot either, sadly. But when it comes to the descriptions, really what is there to say about Horn Imp that hasn't already been said about Feral Imp? Strictly speaking, Horn Imp is worse because it's essentially the same card, same attribute, same level, same type, it just has 400 less defense, so strictly speaking it's worse. It only really exists as a bit of a curiosity. It's an outclassed common card which only appeared in one set throughout the entire card game and then never appeared again. It might make a good coaster for your drink, but that's assuming you can find it. Probably not worth going out of your way unless you're a bit of a collector. Suppose it's always fun in that regard. This is Kanekabuto, and for its set appearances, it's cut and paste time, since Kanekabuto is in the same situation as Horn Imp as far as releases go. Just the one in Volume 6 of the OCG. Absolutely obscure otherwise. Kanekabuto translates to helmet crab, and interestingly there is such a species. It primarily lives in the North Atlantic and North Sea, and the patterns on its carapace can actually resemble a human face. However, they do tend to look a bit more like a helmet because of that, which is why it's got that name. The card game's Kanekabuto is considerably bigger. Helmet crabs are only about 4 centimeters long or so in terms of carapace length, and it delivers a much nastier pincer attack, but was overall thoroughly outclassed even on release. It just sort of exists as a curiosity. It's one of those cards that on appearing in this game will make you go, wait, where did they have that? So now you know, it's a relatively obscure card, with unfortunately no real purpose. Might be handy here though. Okay, it's battle time again. After a while, defeated marshals will return at the main base. However, their teams will only have half their maximum HP. And you'll notice that the time of day changes too. So, there will be certain effects because of course we can use Night Adept monsters. And let's be honest, the fact that you actually get the detailed shadows and changing of the times of day, with the music even changing slightly on the overworld based on what time of day it is really good. So we'll wait until it's night for my plan to go ahead. But otherwise we'll cruise through this battle. It will be a good opportunity for us to level up a little bit. Fistus will actually have a pretty good team, but we're going to find an interesting secret. I'll probably have to wait for Fistus to heal, because we will be knocked around a bit on this one. And there we are, just enough. I will check if Yugi's team is healed and we'll have to wait until nightfall. Because if we attack at nightfall, then all my Night Adept monsters will have the advantage. It's actually going to be pretty significant. However, our enemy does have a Night Adept monster too, which could be troublesome, but we'll make a good fist of things. Alright, slowly but surely take him out. I'll probably have Shimon go into the battle first because his team actually has a couple of Night Adept monsters too. This can be a good way to grind, but do be wary of the time limit. So we'll wait for Fizda's team to heal and then we'll send hers out after the boss. Wait for it to definitely be night, but you'll note that when it does become night, there will be a little light illuminating your selection area. Hey, Penguin Soldier is level 3. Not bad. There we are, we'll get a little bit of experience for defeating Hitotsume Giant again. But we have a lot of time. We can already see there's a bit of a light and the overworld is getting darker. Very nice touch. I suppose it ties in with the real-time strategy element. Worth noting, Fizdus is just an original character unique to this game. She doesn't really have anything special about her, sadly. She's not a notable character. A bit flat in terms of characterization, but just handy to have around. And there we are. Note that Hornium's not going to get much experience because it didn't do very much. But there we are. Some martial experience for Fizdus, Hornium, and Kanekabuto do get to level up. So we've already got a reasonable team set for Fizdus. We'll wait for night to fall. The music will change. Now let's see, which button is it? Ah yes, X changes the size of the cursor. Penguin Soldier's international debut was actually in Joey's starter deck, and it took a while for it to make repeat appearances. In Japan, it first appeared in Booster 6. Penguin Soldier can be a real nuisance when that effect of its gets going, though it can't return itself to the hand if it would be destroyed in battle. They really should have made that clear, because they've got all their fancy ruling text, but they don't state that you can't return this if it would be destroyed in battle. You kind of have to close every loophole. Though it had humble beginnings and was a little hard to find, Penguin Soldier eventually spawned an archetype which focuses on returning cards to the hand and disrupting opponents. Their stats can be low, but these penguins actually are pretty potent. If only Crump could actually see these guys now. Though I suppose to be fair to him, some of his cards actually do appear in the archetype, so he kinda helped somewhere along the way. At least that arc was good for something. Let's fiddle around with the camera for a touch. If we flick it around, we can actually see that the night sky changes. We can also see that it's a very flat and limited area for the game world. But the music has changed. It is nightfall. It's all the little touches like this that make me really love the game. Whoops. So, let's now send Yugi straight to Makad, because we're about to discover one of the notable features of the game. Just have to wait a little bit as he wanders along. We'll have to wait till we get into battle, of course. We can actually find monsters on the field. If some will join us automatically, some will actually challenge us.
Is this an ambush?
So now we're fighting Silverfang. So now you'll see, if we observe our stats, we've got a slight boost to attack and defense. We will eventually get stronger boost thanks to Yugi leveling up, but we also have more action points. So, Silverfang, let's check our enemy. Silverfang is a beast with 1200 attack, 800 defense, 3 action points, Field Adept for its ability, and Wild Sonic Storm for its attack. Let's go on the assault. Karibo can also attack an extra time, which is a thing. But we shouldn't have too much trouble taking out Silverfang. If we defeat Silverfang, it will join our cause. We'll want to level up our monsters very well as a result. I apologise for this being the sort of sit around and do stuff episode, but that's the problem with the tutorial. Unfortunately, that missed. It's guarded. Now let's demonstrate what happens when you break the enemy's guard. See, minimal damage, but we can now hurt it. It was a bit disappointing that we missed, but as we can see, its health is running low. I don't think we're going to be able to finish it off. Unless we get a critical. Those can happen sometimes. Alright, good damage. Come on, Karibo! Hey, we did it! Not bad for a little ball of fuzz. Now, if we won the battle normally, I'm not sure what would happen. But there we are, we got a little bit of extra experience for Yugi's team. Silverfang is now our ally. Let's get Shimon motoring too. So, to use icon mode, that's how you use icon mode. I'll have Shimon go into the castle first. Now there is something I actually haven't mentioned when we look over at Fizz's team. See how Kanekabuto has that fin? Monsters with the navy movement are unaffected by anti-air and anti-ground cannons, but they are often much slower. However, if a marshal has the Navy ability, and they have 3 water monsters on their team, then they will get increased movement speed. I can't remember exactly how we check that. Let's... Yugi, hold position here. Fistus monsters are recovering nicely. I think we should do okay with these two. We'll attack in waves. We will have Zombie Warrior, which, as we can see, slide boosts, is ready to attack.
It's time to attack the enemy's main base. You cannot defeat an enemy in its main base, a town or castle, simply by fighting better than them. You must force the enemy to flee or defeat all of the enemy's monsters in order to win. It is difficult to defeat an enemy in their stronghold unless you surround them and attack in waves. Be careful not to chase your enemy too far, they might be leading you into a trap. Now let's go get the enemy!
You insolent runt! Just who do you think you are? Guards! Where are my guards?
You're the only one left. Get ready for the end!
Ah, traitors! How dare you revolt against the Empire? I'll take some of you with me before I'm done!
A boss battle under a starry sky. It's a beautiful effect, let's be honest. We'll examine our team. So, they'll usually target one of our strongest monsters. Let's examine the enemy. Basic insect. Pretty basic. It counts as an insect and it does have slightly improved stats. I mean, it's a beast, not an insect. We have Blackland Fire Dragon, which actually gains more attack and defense because it has Knight Adept. So there was a bit of a risk. Swordsman from a foreign land. It's fairly basic, not a very strong monster to begin with. It has Road Adept. This is probably the most useless adept ability since you won't fight on roads very often. Knight Adept and Forest Adept. Now, let's go back to Insect Fire Cannon because like Karibo, Basic Insect cannot use this without a specific item. So, let's get attacking and target that Blackland Fire Dragon. It is also worth noting that some monster attacks can gain certain abilities too. So, Zombie Warrior has dodged an attack. Dragons will often be a bit stronger but a bit slower. And then we have a beaver. There's a critical! Very nice, so it's guarded. Let's focus on Swordsman from a foreign land. It always sounds like there's a slight ribbit noise in there for some reason. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird. But after Shimon has dished out some damage, Yugi will be able to move in. And we can just keep comboing the enemy. We'll slowly wear them down. The more damage we do, the better, obviously. So it was a bit of a risk taking on our enemy at night because of Blackland Fire Dragon's Knight Adept. However, I believe it was a calculated risk because it actually gave us the ability to use our monsters to our advantage. But of course we'll level up and get stronger as we go. So I can leave Blackland Fire Dragon alone for now. To be honest, I really do love the effects in this game. It's so creative. And it was fascinating learning about all the different monsters. Because there are some that at the time hadn't appeared in the TCG, as my explanations mentioned. We'll probably get to a few more of those if needed as I go through these next boss battle, the next phases of the boss battle. We've already got Swordsman from a foreign land out of the way. Let's chip away at Blackland Fire Dragon. And then once that's done, the battle will hopefully be in our hand. There we are, we've gained the advantage. We get more experience if we do that. But still not a huge amount. I probably could send Shimon in again. Yeah, I'll send Shimon in and get some more experience. If we have any more need for profiles, we'll run those. Silverfang's international debut was in Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon and Yugi's starter deck. In Japan it first appeared in Volume 1, so it's a real veteran of the series. But even for all that, there's not much which can be said about Silverfang. It's been around for ages, but is not too remarkable. However, it is virtually identical to Wolf from Booster 5. Only the pose and flavor text are different, as the monster designs, attribute, type and stats are the same. The only real difference is Silverfang is fusion material for Flower Wolf, while Wolf is not connected to other monsters in any way. Pretty slack design work, but then again quite a few monsters did have counterparts with similar but recolored art, as we're going to see later on. Blackland Fire Dragon made its international debut in Metal Raiders, and it's had only 2 more appearances. In Japan, it first appeared in Volume 6, so at least it saw the light of International Day, unlike Hornimp and Kanekabuto. Blackland Fire Dragon's Japanese name is Darkness Dragon, and that's precisely what it is, a dark attribute dragon type. It's outclassed now, but it does have a nice distinction. It's the first dragon type seen in the anime, and the second overall monster. In the Bandai version of the game, this monster is level 5 and has 2100 attack and 1600 defense. Interestingly, its art actually comes from the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga, where the cards were shown coming to life and Blackland Fire Dragon was summoned. This was in the first game between Kaiba and Dark Yugi. And there goes the battle! So there we are, Shimon's team levels up. So we did alright out of our first battle, I think.
A splendid first victory, Lord Yugi. Our actions here have stirred the people in these lands to fight back against the Empire. The noble families in the area are offering to assist us financially. If we continue to win like this, the resistance should grow nicely. The Empire is confused right now, but it's only temporary. They'll soon send units to hunt us down. Let's take this opportunity to secure our positions and fight off the enemy. Now it's time for you to make an appearance, Lord Yugi. The people want to meet their savior.
We have also recruited Blackland Fire Dragon. Not too bad. So we get a fair bit of gold and some items, Monster Reborn and 2 blue medicines. We'll go over those in the next one. But we'll at least get the precursor sorted out. Fury of the Empire. Yugi's resistance army decides to undertake its next mission before the Empire strikes back. Really, guys? With Sugod confused about what to do, the resistance plans to free a large agricultural village in the south.
Our success in freeing the Makad area has strengthened the determination of the resistance. Let's strike the stores of the Imperial forces while morale is high. We can cut them off from their supplies. The southern part of the island is mostly farmland. The Empire works most of the farmers like slaves. If we can free this area, all supplies to Sugod will be cut off and we'll gain a significant advantage. However, General Sebekal, one of the fiercest generals in the Imperial Army, regular Imperial Army, appears to be in the area. Sebekal is a dangerous foe, well known for his ferocity. I don't believe he has a large force with him, but we should still be careful not to make any mistakes. That reminds me, I believe we received some items in our last engagement. You can use those items by equipping the monsters with them. Just remember that you can't change your mind once you send a monster into battle. When preparing for battle, think carefully about which item you give to which monster.
and we'll pick up ready to go in the next one. We'll have all the information I need about those stats on hand. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, this is Red 2, returning to base.